The human ship shuddered as it entered the orbit of Zephyr 9. Its hull creaked under the invisible pull of the alien planet's gravity, and the youngest human on board, 16-year-old Liam Carter, gripped the railing of the observation deck as if it could keep him anchored. His green eyes, wide with a mix of awe and fear, traced the glowing cities below. They were unlike anything he had ever seen. Towers of translucent crystal reached into the clouds, and golden lights flowed along streets like rivers of liquid fire. The entire planet shimmered as if it were alive. Liam's heart pounded not with terror but with something deeper, wonder. He had grown up hearing stories of alien civilizations, of worlds so advanced that humans seemed like children. Yet nothing in books, nothing in simulations could have prepared him for this. The palace at the center of the main city dominated the skyline. Its dome gleamed brighter than the sun, surrounded by spires that stretched like fingers toward the heavens. The humans aboard the ship whispered nervously among themselves, but Liam couldn't take his eyes off it. He felt watched. "Liam, focus," said Commander Harlan, the leader of the mission, breaking through Liam's thoughts. "We're here to deliver supplies and leave. Nothing more. Stay calm or you'll get yourself in trouble." Liam nodded, though his stomach fluttered with something he couldn't name. He had been trained for space missions, for danger, for survival. But this was different. This was something bigger, something he didn't understand. As the shuttle descended, Liam noticed the palace gates parting on their own, as though the structure itself expected him. The crew tensed, weapons at the ready, but no one moved. A strange voice filled the air, soft yet impossible to ignore. It wasn't coming from speakers or radios, it simply existed, resonating in Liam's mind. "He is here." Liam froze. Every instinct screamed at him to run, to hide, to retreat to the safety of his ship. But he didn't. His eyes widened as the voice repeated, now with a hint of something else: authority, power, and curiosity. Slowly a figure emerged from the palace gates. She was taller than any human, with a presence that made the air feel heavy. Her skin shimmered like polished bronze, and her eyes glowed like molten gold. She moved with grace, each step deliberate, as if the ground itself bowed under her. The humans whispered, and even Commander Harlan's face turned pale. Liam, though terrified, felt a strange pull toward her. His heart raced as her gaze swept over the crew, ignoring them entirely until it settled on him. The moment their eyes met, Liam felt a jolt, like an electric current had passed through him. He could not look away. Who is she?" one of the crew whispered. "She is the alien queen," Harlan replied, his voice barely above a whisper, as if saying her name too loudly would summon her wrath. The queen stopped a few steps away from Liam. She studied him quietly, and for the first time Liam felt exposed. Every secret, every fear, every thought he had ever tried to hide seemed visible to her. Yet despite the fear, there was something thrilling about being seen so completely. He felt both small and important all at once. A sudden hush fell over the landing platform. Even the wind seemed to pause. The queen raised her head and her voice rang out, not harsh but impossible to ignore. "He is mine." The word struck Liam like a lightning bolt. The humans gasped. The advisors behind the queen murmured, some shocked, some fearful, but she didn't waver. She simply looked at him with a calm certainty that sent shivers down his spine. Liam stumbled back slightly, his mind racing. He was just a boy, the youngest on the mission, not a soldier, not a diplomat. He didn't belong here, not in this moment, not in this palace, and yet he felt an odd warmth, as if the queen's gaze had reached inside him and found something worth claiming. That night, Liam could not sleep. He lay on the hard bunk in his quarters, staring at the ceiling, imagining the alien city glowing beneath the stars. He thought of the queen, of her words, and of the pull he felt toward something greater than himself. Fear and awe wrestled in his chest, but one thing was clear. This planet, this palace, this queen, they had changed everything. And Liam Carter, the youngest human, could never go back to being ordinary. The morning light of Zephyr 9 spilled into the palace courtyard, painting the golden marble floors with a warm glow. Liam Carter stepped out of the shuttle, trying to steady his racing heart. His legs felt unsteady, as if the gravity of the palace itself weighed heavier than the planet's pull. Every eye in the court turned toward him, alien advisors, warriors, even servants who had stopped mid-step to watch. But it was the alien queen who drew every ounce of his attention. She stood on a raised dais, her long flowing robe shimmering like molten gold. The light bent around her as if obeying her presence, and her eyes fixed on Liam with a force that made him feel both tiny and remarkable. Liam swallowed, unsure if he wanted to run or fall to his knees. The words she had spoken the night before, "He is mine," echoed in his mind, sending a shiver down his spine. The queen raised a hand, and the crowd fell into silence. Even the hum of the city outside the palace walls seemed to fade away. Her voice, calm yet commanding, carried over the courtyard like a melody and a roar at the same time. "He will be mine," she declared again. The humans gasped. Liam felt the blood rush to his face. His mind raced. What does she mean? Why me? I'm just a boy. The youngest human on this mission. Insignificant. The Queen's advisors whispered furiously behind her, their voices sharp with alarm. Some tried to step forward as if to protest, but she lifted her hand again. The gesture was enough to halt them instantly. "No argument," she said, her tone unyielding. "This is not a matter for debate. He is chosen." Liam's stomach churned. He wanted to speak, to say he was not special, not important, not anyone's chosen. But the words caught in his throat. The Queen's gaze seemed to see straight through him, into the very core of who he was. He felt vulnerable in a way he had never experienced. And yet, beneath the fear, a strange warmth stirred. A feeling that he had never been recognized so completely before. Commander Harlan stepped forward, voice steady but cautious. "Your Majesty, this is unprecedented." The Queen cut him off with a tilt of her head. Her eyes never left Liam. "Do not speak for what is already decided," she said. Her words were sharp, final. Liam noticed a subtle curve of her lips, a hint of satisfaction or perhaps curiosity. It was impossible to tell. For the rest of the day, Liam wandered the palace halls under strict supervision. His mind replayed the Queen's declaration over and over. He passed murals depicting alien history, scenes of battles and peace, of leaders chosen by strength, wisdom, or fate. And now he, a human boy, was added to that lineage in a way he could not understand. Later, in a quiet chamber, the Queen appeared before him again. This time she spoke softly, almost gently. "Do not fear what you are," she said. "Fear what you refuse to become." Liam shook his head. I don't know what I am to you," he admitted. "I'm just a human. A boy." Her eyes softened, but only slightly. "A boy, perhaps," she said, "but one with courage. One with spirit. One who will change the future." For the first time, Liam felt a spark of something he had never known. Pride. Not the pride of achievement, but the pride of being seen for who he could be, rather than what he was. Fear still lingered, but it was now tangled with excitement, with a strange anticipation he could not ignore. That evening, Liam stood on a balcony, looking out at the city of Zephyr 9 glowing under twin moons. He thought of the Queen's words, of the weight of her claim, and of the path that stretched uncertainly before him. One thing was clear: nothing would ever be the same. He was no longer just Liam Carter, the youngest human. He was chosen, observed, and possibly destined. And somewhere deep inside, he realized that for the first time in his life he wanted to rise to that destiny, whatever it might demand of him. The next morning, Liam was summoned to the palace arena. His stomach churned as he walked through endless halls of golden marble, past alien statues that seemed to watch him with silent judgment. The walls hummed with energy and the air smelled faintly of ozone and metal. He could hear the whispers of the palace staff echoing in the corridors, murmurs of disbelief and curiosity. Why the human? Why the youngest? The arena itself was enormous, open to the sky. Platforms of glowing crystal rose from the ground, connected by swirling paths of energy. Alien warriors, taller and stronger than any human soldier Liam had ever seen, stood at attention, their armor shimmering like liquid silver. The Queen was already there, waiting at the center, her presence commanding absolute attention. She did not smile. She did not speak. She simply looked at him, her golden eyes unwavering like a storm calm yet inevitable. Liam swallowed hard. His legs felt like jelly. He had trained on simulators, learned self-defense, and even survived minor space missions, but this was unlike anything he had faced. He was just a boy. He was fragile, and yet a spark of determination flared inside him. He would not show fear. The Queen's voice echoed through the arena, resonant and unyielding. "Show me your heart, human. Show me what makes you worthy." The first wave came fast. Alien warriors leaped from the platforms, their strikes precise and deadly. Liam dodged instinctively, feeling the shock waves of their blows through the ground. Every time he fell, his body hit the crystal floor with a jarring impact. Pain flared in his shoulders, his knees, but he forced himself to rise. Humans were small, yes, but they never gave up. He would not give up. Minutes stretched into hours. Sweat stung his eyes. Blood mixed with dust and sweat on his skin, yet he pushed on. He studied his opponents, learning their movements, predicting their attacks. Where they relied on strength, he relied on speed. Where they expected fear, he met determination. Slowly, ever so slowly, the arena began to change. Liam's movements grew sharper, his strikes smarter. He was no longer running to survive. He was fighting to prove something, to show that the smallest could stand against the strongest. The Queen watched silently, her gaze never leaving him. Liam felt her attention like fire on his back. He imagined that if he could earn her respect, he could earn his place in this alien world. And perhaps in some strange way he could earn himself. Finally, the last warrior fell, unarmed and exhausted. Liam collapsed to his knees, chest heaving, every muscle screaming in protest. The arena was silent. The only sound was the Queen's slow, deliberate footsteps as she approached. Liam could barely lift his eyes, afraid to see disappointment, but instead, he saw something he had not expected. Recognition. "You fight not as a human," the Queen said softly, her voice carrying over the empty arena. "You fight as one who refuses to be small. You carry a spark that even my greatest warriors do not possess." Liam blinked, the weight of her words sinking in. Pride and relief swelled in his chest, mingled with exhaustion. He had faced impossible odds and he had survived. Not only survived, he had impressed the alien Queen. As she extended her hand toward him, Liam hesitated. This was more than a gesture of triumph. This was acknowledgement, a bond being forged in the fires of trial. Slowly he took her hand. The moment their skin met, a strange warmth coursed through him, a feeling that said he was not just seen but chosen for something greater. That night, Liam sat in his quarters, sore, bruised, and exhausted. Yet he could not stop smiling. Fear had not left him, but it had transformed into determination. He realized that in the vast galaxy, humans might be small, but they were resilient, resourceful, and capable of astonishing courage. And in that moment, Liam Carter understood that his journey was only beginning. The Queen's challenge had tested his body, but it had awakened something in his heart. Something that would define him, not just as the youngest human, but as the one who could stand tall among the stars. The days that followed the arena challenge were unlike anything Liam had ever experienced. The palace seemed alive, humming with energy that resonated deep in his chest. Alien advisors whispered behind closed doors, exchanging glances that were part admiration, part disbelief. Yet the alien Queen did not speak to him often, and when she did, it was brief, purposeful, and heavy with meaning. Still, Liam felt her presence everywhere. He could sense her in the corridors, in the libraries, even in the gardens where the air shimmered with glowing flora. It was in the gardens that the first real connection began. Liam walked carefully along the floating pathways, the soft glow of alien trees lighting his path. He had been practicing the language of the Zelfer, studying their texts and gestures. He could speak a little now, enough to understand the nuances of what the Queen wished to teach. She appeared silently behind him, her robes flowing like liquid sunlight. "You learn quickly," she said, her voice gentle, almost a whisper. Liam turned, startled, but then met her gaze. There was no judgment in her eyes, only observation, like she was measuring not just what he knew, but what he could become. "I try," Liam replied, his voice small but steady. The Queen tilted her head, a gesture that seemed almost like approval. "It is not enough to try. You must commit, human. You must carry your spirit like a flame in the dark. That is what your kind can teach us." Liam felt a warmth spread in his chest. No one had ever spoken to him like that before, not teachers, not family. He felt as if she could see his soul, every doubt, every fear, and still believe he was capable of greatness. Over the next weeks, their interactions became subtle lessons. The Queen allowed him into the palace archives, showing him texts older than any human history. She asked questions that challenged his logic and his heart, forcing him to think in ways humans rarely did. Liam often stumbled, frustrated, but she never scolded. Instead, she guided him patiently, like a river shaping stones over centuries. One evening, under the glow of bioluminescent trees, Liam asked a question that had been growing inside him. "Why me? Why not one of your warriors? I'm just a human boy. I'm small, weak." The Queen's eyes softened, the first genuine tenderness he had seen in her. She reached out, not touching, but letting her energy brush against his presence. "Your strength is not measured by size or skill," she said. "It is measured by courage, by the will to stand when everything tells you to fall. You carry hope in a way my people have long forgotten." Liam's chest tightened. He realized she believed in him not for what he was, but for what he could become. It was a feeling so profound it made his eyes sting. He had never known anyone could see that in him. For the first time, Liam began to feel at home. Not on Earth, not on a human ship, but here on Zelfar 9, under the watchful gaze of the alien Queen. A bond was forming, quiet but powerful, built on respect, trust, and a shared understanding that transcended species. That night, he stood on his balcony, gazing at the alien city, the lights shimmering like stars brought to the ground. He thought of the Queen's words, of her quiet faith in him. He realized something important. Fear would always exist, but courage, determination, and hope could grow even in the most alien of worlds. Liam Carter, the youngest human, felt something he had never felt before, a sense of purpose. He was no longer just a visitor, an outsider, or a boy who stumbled into a galaxy far from home. He was becoming a part of something greater, something that neither he nor the Queen fully understood yet. And for the first time he smiled, not with relief, but with anticipation. Whatever the future held, he would face it with her, and together they could rise beyond anything either of them had ever imagined. The palace that had once seemed so magnificent began to feel like a maze of shadows. Liam Carter had grown stronger, more confident under the alien Queen's guidance, but he could sense the tension simmering beneath the golden walls. Whispers followed him through the halls, carried by servants and advisors alike. Some spoke of him with awe, but others with fear or envy. Humans were tiny, fragile creatures, and yet the Queen had declared him hers. That declaration had unsettled more than a few hearts. One evening, as Liam trained in the quiet courtyard, he noticed the subtle looks exchanged between the Queen's advisors. Their eyes were sharp, calculating. He did not know their words, but their intent was clear. Not all within the palace welcomed his presence. And though the Queen had warned him that loyalty in the court was as fluid as the rivers of Zelfar, seeing it firsthand made his stomach churn. Suddenly a voice hissed from the shadows. "You do not belong here, human. She will see, and then you will fall." Liam's heart jumped. He spun around, catching the glint of steel in the moonlight. A group of armed conspirators emerged, moving swiftly and silently. His training kicked in. He did not run. He could not run, the attack came fast. He dodged the first blow, rolling across the crystal floor. The second struck closer, narrowly missing his shoulder. Fear surged, but it was tempered by a fierce determination. He had faced warriors stronger than him before. He could survive this. He had to. As the battle unfolded, Liam realized something remarkable. The conspirators had underestimated him because he was human. They had assumed his size and youth made him weak. But humans thrived on ingenuity, on strategy, and on heart. He used their momentum against them, pushing one into another, sliding under sweeping strikes and turning their own force into their downfall. Every breath burned in his chest. Every movement demanded more than he thought he had, but he kept going. From the palace balcony, the alien queen watched, her expression unreadable. Then, with a command barely above a whisper, the palace gates shifted. Energy barriers flaring to life. Warriors loyal to her joined the fray. Subduing the conspirators with precise strikes, Liam ducked the final attack, twisting just in time as the last adversary fell. Exhausted, battered, and trembling, he looked up at the queen. "You fight not for glory," she said, her golden eyes blazing. "You fight for courage, for honor, and for what is right. That is why you are mine. That is why I trust you." Liam's chest heaved, the adrenaline and fear colliding into a strange, powerful relief. The weight of her words washed over him. He had survived not just a physical challenge, but a trial of spirit. He had proven that even the smallest human could face impossible. Odds later, in a quiet chamber, the queen approached him. She placed a hand on his shoulder, not gently but with the firmness of someone who trusted him completely. "The galaxy will always test us, Liam," she said. "Enemies will rise, allies may falter, and danger will always find a way. But you are a reminder that the impossible can be conquered." Liam nodded, the bruises and cuts on his arms and legs throbbing. He realized something profound. Survival was only part of being human. The other part, the part that mattered, was heart, resilience. The courage to rise again and again when the world pushed you down. That night, Liam sat on his balcony, staring at the glowing city below. He could still feel the warmth of the queen's hand, the fire of the fight in his veins. For the first time, he understood that being chosen was not about privilege or luck. It was about proving worth in a world that did not see humans as equal. And Liam Carter, the youngest human, felt a surge of pride that had nothing to do with size, strength, or skill. It had everything to do with heart. In a galaxy that underestimated him, he had stood tall, and he had not only survived, he had earned his place by courage alone. The twin suns of Zephyr 9 rose slowly, casting long golden shadows across the palace. Liam Carter stood at the highest tower, the wind tugging at his hair and clothes. Below him, the city glimmered like a sea of stars brought to the ground. His heart pounded, not from fear this time, but from a storm of thoughts that refused to settle. He had survived the arena, defeated conspirators, and gained the respect of the alien queen. And yet, the weight of the queen's declaration, the words "he will be mine," still pressed against him. The queen appeared silently behind him, her presence as steady and commanding as ever. "The galaxy will test us," she said softly. Her voice carried not just authority, but a strange warmth. "Allies may fail, enemies may rise, and dangers will come that neither of us can imagine. I cannot face all of it alone." Liam swallowed hard. He looked out at the city, then at the queen. The thought of leaving, of returning to Earth, back to the small, safe world he had always known, tempted him. It would be simple, familiar. No threats, no alien politics, no weight of destiny pressing on his shoulders. Yet as he looked at her, he realized that leaving would feel like abandoning everything he had fought to become. I could leave," he said quietly. "I could return home. It would be safe." The queen's golden eyes met his. "And your heart?" she asked. "Do you think your heart belongs to safety, Liam? Or to courage?" Her words struck him deeper than any blow he had ever taken in the arena. Fear had been his companion for most of his life, whispering that humans were small, fragile and unimportant. But courage had brought him here. Courage had carried him through impossible challenges. Courage had made the Queen see him, not as a boy, but as someone who could stand beside her. Liam felt the weight of the decision pressing down on him. This was no longer about survival. This was about choice. About claiming his place in a world that had seemed impossibly large and alien. About deciding who he wanted to be, not just for himself but for the Queen. For the people of Zephyr 9, and perhaps for all humans who had ever been underestimated. Finally, he spoke, his voice steady though his chest shook with emotion. I choose to stay. Not because you chose me, but because I choose to stand with you. The Queen's expression softened, a rare warmth breaking through her regal composure. She stepped closer, and for the first time her hand rested lightly on his shoulder. Then it is done, she said. You are mine not by claim or decree, but by choice. Together we will face the stars and nothing will be beyond our reach. A surge of emotion washed over Liam. Relief, pride, fear, and hope collided inside him. And for the first time, he felt truly alive. He had chosen not the easy path, but the path that demanded courage, strength, and heart. He had chosen to stand in the unknown, to risk everything for something greater than himself. That night, Liam and the Queen walked through the palace gardens, bathed in the soft glow of the alien flora. The air shimmered with energy, and the bioluminescent petals seemed to respond to their presence. Liam realized that choice was more powerful than fear, stronger than doubt, and more enduring than any challenge he had faced. He was no longer just the youngest human, an outsider in a foreign empire. He was a partner, a warrior, a symbol of resilience and hope. And as he looked at the Queen, he understood that together, they could shape not just their destiny, but the destiny of an entire galaxy. Liam Carter, once small and uncertain, had found his place. And he knew deep in his heart that there was no turning back. The path forward would be difficult, dangerous, and unknown, but it was his choice. And he would walk it with courage, with strength, and with the Queen by his side. The galaxy was vast, full of stars and dangers that Liam Carter had never imagined. Yet standing beside the alien Queen on the highest balcony of the palace, he no longer felt small. He had faced impossible odds, survived betrayal, earned the respect of the Queen, and chosen a path that no human before him had dared. The wind tugged at his hair, and the twin suns of Zephyr 9 bathed the city below in golden light. For the first time, Liam felt a sense of belonging so deep it made his chest ache. The Queen stood beside him, radiant and commanding, her golden eyes watching the horizon. The galaxy watches us now, she said softly. They will see that humans are not weak. They will learn that courage, determination, and heart can stand against any force. Liam nodded. He remembered every moment that had brought him here. The arena, the conspirators, the long nights of study, and the quiet guidance of the Queen. Each challenge had shaped him. Every fear had pushed him, and every choice had brought him closer to this moment. He had grown not only as a human, but as someone capable of standing beside a ruler who commanded the stars. Suddenly, a fleet of alien ships appeared on the horizon, distant but unmistakable. The advisors murmured nervously, and even the Queen's usually calm demeanor tightened for a moment. Liam felt the familiar rush of adrenaline, but it was no longer fear. He felt readiness, confidence, and a burning determination. Humans might be small, fragile, and underestimated, but they could rise, adapt, and overcome. And he, the youngest human, would show the galaxy exactly what that meant. The Queen turned to him, her expression softening with pride. Lead if you must, she said. Show them what humanity can do. Liam took a deep breath. He stepped forward, lifting his voice for all to hear. We are not weak, he declared. We are humans. We fight with heart, with courage, and with hope, and we will not be forgotten. The Queen nodded, and the city below seemed to pulse with energy, responding to their combined presence. Warriors of Zephyr 9 readied themselves, and Liam, with the Queen at his side, led the charge to confront the approaching fleet. Strategy, courage, and determination guided his every move. He dodged attacks, countered strikes, and inspired the alien soldiers with a human spark they had never seen. Hours passed in a blur of action, yet Liam never wavered. Each moment reminded him of the trust the Queen had placed in him, of the choice he had made to stand beside her. And slowly the tide of the battle shifted. Alien ships that had seemed unbeatable faltered. Their forces broke, overwhelmed not by sheer power but by cunning, courage, and unwavering resolve. When the last enemy ship fled, the city erupted in celebration. The Queen turned to Liam, her eyes shining brighter than the sun's. "You have done what no one thought possible," she said. "You have shown the galaxy that humanity is not to be dismissed." Liam smiled, exhausted, bruised, but triumphant. For the first time he truly understood the meaning of being chosen, not by chance, not by decree, but by courage, heart, and the strength to rise when all odds were against him. That evening, as the sun set and the skies turned deep violet, Liam stood once more on the balcony, the Queen beside him. Together they looked out at the galaxy, vast and endless. He knew there would be more challenges, more battles, more tests of courage. But he also knew this: humans could rise, they could inspire, and they could change the course of history. Liam Carter, once the youngest human, now stood as a symbol, a spark of humanity in a galaxy that had underestimated him. And as he held the Queen's hand, he felt an unshakable truth. Together, they could face the stars, conquer the impossible, and prove that courage and heart were the greatest power of all. And for the first time Liam truly believed it. Humanity had a place among the stars,